Legend. All right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, depending where you are in the world. As I mentioned before, my name is Roy Milan. I'm the Chief Executive with the Definitiv Group, and very much appreciate Thrive for putting this together, which has been a great partner of ours, and also expanding us into the different regions over the East Coast. So a little bit about the business, just so you get a lay of the land before I go into the full presentation. Definitiv supports clients across Australia, New Zealand, and Singapore, and we're also just about to expand into PNG and Fiji. The solution is a true SaaS solution, so we do everything from medium to enterprise businesses, and that kind of medium mark will probably be at the kind of the 50 mark, generally speaking, but not saying that we couldn't take a smaller client. It's just usually that's kind of the size that seems to fit best from there up. Definitiv is, I mentioned, a true class SaaS solution. As an organisation, we also are a licensed payroll supplier. So we've got our tax license. We do a lot of outsourcing for a lot of our clients. It seems to be the flavour of the last probably 18 months since COVID hit, that a lot of clients do like to outsource, or you could do a hybrid of. So, you know, there's a lot of options available for you. We currently process over in excess now, probably about 350 companies across those regions I alluded to, Singapore, New Zealand, and Australia. And that also covers over 27 different industries in the portfolio. So it's one platform that fits all our clients, and it's, as you'll see through the presentation, it's super customizable to meet the needs, certainly in the construction, mining, and oil and gas space. Look, it's very dominant. Obviously, being a WA head office, it's certainly, in fairness, probably our bread and butter. You know, we really do very well at that side of things and automating the process. So with Definitiv itself, and some of the areas we cover in today's presentation, and I know we've only got a limited time to do that, is I will go quick, so I do apologise for going quick in the presentations. But of course, the Thrive team, and myself included, I'm more than happy to do one-on-one specific demos of the product. But it's just more to give you the flavour and appetite of the kind of verticals we touch when we talk about employees and contractors, and also if you've got volunteers and students, those kind of people. The organisation or the product itself, don't think of it just as the payroll system, okay? You know, that's one of many features you'll see today, to deliver obviously the compliance and governance for an organisation. But when we pitch this to clients, it's really about trying to see and save that 1 to 2% of your labour costs. That's what we're trying to get to. And the way we do that, you'll see that through the presentation, it's all about data and analytics and controlling and reducing your risk and improving your compliance and governance, okay? So bear that in mind as we go through the platform. As I alluded to, it is a true cloud solution, so anywhere, anytime, any device. And we also have 2 dedicated apps, of which I will show you the iOS version today because I use an iPhone, but we do obviously cover Android as well. I do apologise for that. Okay, so enough of that. How we look at Definitiv. I'm going to cover a few areas today, obviously payroll being a big part of it, but the employee self-service and management self-service, how that looks from a user point of view, and then some of the weeds and to understand some of the benefits you get by using a system like this, as I alluded to try to save that 1 to 2% of your labour cost. So what I'll probably start with first is what the users will see, and then we'll move into more what the super users will see from the day-to-day operations, you know, whether you're a rostering person or you're a payroll person, HR, those kind of users. All right, so how this works, let's hope the technology works for me. You should be able to see in a moment. Just wait till the screen catches up. Cool. All right, so everyone should be able to see my screen. And what I've got up there, you'll see a pretty dog. He's an absolute menace. He chewed my bedroom mattress last weekend. So he's in the doghouse, literally speaking. So we've got 2 apps here. We've got the time clock app, which is all about the business, and it's about how you clock in and clock out people. Comes standard with the product should you want to use it. And then the one that's got Definitiv 16 is all about the end user being the employee manager user experience. So that's the one the end user will have on the phone. The time clock one is the one that the business will put on fixed tablets, whether it's an Apple device or it's an Android tablet. Okay, so employees won't see the time clock one. But for the purpose of this presentation, I've obviously got it on my phone. And this just, I'll quickly show you how people can clock in and clock out using the iPad or the tablet solution. So the technology works a little bit different to traditional time and attendance solutions. Again, you can download as many time clocks as you like. You obviously just need to supply your own tablets. You give it a unique name, and then it's ready to rock and roll. Now, with the way the time clocks work, yes, your pretty logo will come up. You can change to purple. If you're not a fan of purple, you can change to whatever color marketing wants it to be. But the key thing is it's keeping it simple for the end user. So how we do that is we use NFC technology in conjunction with the iPad. If you're not familiar with NFC, it's the same thing you'll have in your credit cards or your pay pass. So it's tap and go. If you're in places like Sydney, Opal cards, your public transport. In Perth, we have smart riders. They could be student cards. In construction, very, very common. They'll buy the white cards and then they will actually print their photo and stick the photo company details and safety details, because that's the card they use to get through gates or breathalyzers, wherever they are. Again, very common in the construction industry. But notwithstanding, NFC, if you Google it after this presentation, it's a universal technology. It's really cheap to supply. You can get key rings, waterproof tokens, all sorts of things, stickers. Again, you get whatever NFC works for your organization and culture, okay? So that's the kind of nuts and bolts of it. But how it works is I'm going to use an Opal card. The employee walks up to the tablet. They'll simply tap on the tablet and they'll come up on screen, okay? In this particular case, the employee that I'm tapping on is Dell, and all she does is when she starts a day, she clocks on. So imagine that was walking through a site and there's a breathalyzer, you're doing your toolbox meetings, whatever it is, they'll just tap and clock on for the day, okay? Now, very, very simple way to clock in and clock out people. So she walks up to the end of the day, she walks up to the tablet and she simply hits clock off. We can also activate things like breaks. So if you want to clock on and clock off for breaks, you can turn that option on. And you can also see here when she goes to clock off, she's got some additional information that she can do. And I'll come back to this more so when we go through the web of how that controls payments. So these items could be things like inclement weather. It could be travel day, it could be a called in a day, and these could trigger off different payments based on what their selection is for that shift, okay? Then that will go off to the manager for approval if it's outside the rostered periods of grace times. So that's a very simple employee. A different type of employee that clocks on right now is Molly. She can start her day or she could change her duties, okay? So the screen would change depending who the actual end user is and how they're set up in your organization. So with Molly, she can select two different roles. So if you could think of it, your organization, and you might have it, you might not have it, is you can have people with two different roles. So they could step up as a supervisor or they could do their day-to-day role as a specialist. Those two roles can pay them completely different. So one could be on a common law contract, the other one could be on an enterprise agreement. And again, all the employee has to do is select what they're doing for that time of day, and it will automate how it pays that based on the approval going through. So that's Molly. The next employee that I'm going to show you, similar to Molly, she has a change duties button, but different configuration. She has to pick what job she's working on, okay? So it comes down to that 1 to 2% of your labor cost that we were talking about. And this will now move the wages, the super, the payroll tax, to work cover and leave provision, even construction long service leave, onto the job that they select. And all they literally have to do is select the job that they're working on at this point in time. So in my case, I'm going to pick berth 1. When I pick berth 1, it requires me to also select what department I'm working on, because in berth 1, I can work in 2 departments. If I rewind one step, if I pick berth 3, it doesn't ask me what department to select because I can only work in one department based on my configuration. So you see how the screen will never miss an opportunity to capture the right data and won't let the end user pass through without the correct data. Now, I know you might be wondering, well, what if someone basically uses the buddy system and tries to clock in their mate because they're still sitting at home or they're running late? So the way we do the preventions is an employee can put in their employee number manually, so they can use the keypad. However, anytime they use the keypad, the configuration by default is the camera will activate itself. Okay, so you can see the camera coming on. There's no face in there. So if the employee tries to clock in and there's no face in there, it won't let them do that event, whether that's a clock on or a clock off event. As soon as I come into camera, it goes green. So it recognizes there's a face in the camera. It now lets me clock on, and then it will send that timesheet to the manager for approval, regardless if you're inside the grace period. And this is a way just to prevent the buddy system, so your mate's not clocking you in and clocking you out, and it knows exactly who the individual is. So that photo will be attached to that timesheet now, so the manager can check it. Now, also you saw with that particular employee, he's what I call the super user, Hugh Jackman. He has a few options as well. So he has options, for example, he can book to any project. So if he was like a project manager in the organization and he's got a lot more projects that he can book to, they're going to see these options. So I'm going to pick, for example, I'm doing the North Pine HV upgrade, and I'm doing the design phase of that. So I'm picking the work order for that. And again, now the wages, the super, the payroll tax, the work cover, leave provisions, fully job costed automatically to that selection. Okay, that's the time clock. Very simple way that it works. It also works in offline mode. So if you're in any remote locations or the internet drops for any reason, it automatically falls into offline mode, captures all the relevant data, and when the comms returns, automatically remits this back up. So there is no reason the employee can't clock in or clock out for the day. Now that's one way you can capture time, one of many ways. So now I'm going to jump into the Definitiv app that the employee and manager will use, and I'll continue on to the option of how you can clock in and clock out. So you saw here, I'm logged in as myself, and it used my Face ID. So whatever your phone device is or model, it will inherit whatever the security has. So it's Face ID, it could be fingerprint, it could be PIN number. Again, whatever the generation of that phone is, it will just inherit that. Now, this is me logged in as myself today. These are my permissions, okay? So if I was a casual, for example, I definitely shouldn't see things to do with leave. If I'm a casual, generally speaking, I'm not going to be a manager, so I'm not going to see anything to do with teams. So again, if you don't have permission to a certain area or a task, you simply won't see those options at all. So they won't get FOMO, feeling like they're missing out on anything. They just won't know that they don't have those permissions. Same with this time clock. So in my organization, we all clock in and clock out, okay? It's not how we're paid. We're paid all an annualized salary, but we do it for a couple of reasons, and it's quite important to our organization. It being in a growth mode business, you really need to be keeping your eye on, obviously, your scalability and when you need to drop in resources. So we do ask a lot from our employees, and they do give a lot, but it's also very important we don't burn out our staff. So you can see here, I forgot to clock on this morning. So my scheduled time is normally 8. I got a reminder that I didn't clock on. So I realized, oh, I actually started at 5 a.m. and I corrected my timesheet, okay? It grabbed my GPS location of where I clocked in from home this morning. And what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna book my time to sales, okay? So I'm doing sales right now. So now all my costs will move to sales. And in addition, it will grab my GPS location of where I've done that event and ping me on the map. Again, our time clocks automatically work in offline mode. Even if the connection drops off, you'll still be able to always grab GPS, even if it's an aeroplane, on a boat, in the middle of an ocean, okay? It will still grab GPS for you. Okay, so that's how you use time clock. You saw it in the other way. This is all about just the individual themselves using time clock. Now, you might be afraid or concerned that, hey, I don't want employees just to be able to clock in and clock out anywhere. So again, it's a permission. You can say, yes, you can clock in and clock out anywhere. You know, in this COVID world, that's a permission that we have on every employee. They can clock in and clock out anywhere, because we don't know when we're going to get a lockdown. Certainly living in WA, you know what McGowan's like. He smells it, he locks us down. So if you were pedantic and said, no, I need you to be in the location that I request you to be in, we call it geofencing or using iBeacon technology. I'll just hold it up on screen. These are the beacons. So if I said you could only clock in on site in the crib room, I would put a beacon in the roof, under the desk, in a locker, wherever I wanted to put it, and it's just Bluetooth technology. All that means is if my permission says I need to be near a beacon, that event and forgot button is automatically a purple banner across there to say there's no beacons in this area. The minute you walk into the zone, it automatically shows you and allows you to clock in and clock out. An example I use that works quite well in the industry is in childcare. We've got quite a few childcares and big conglomerates of those. And for them, they only allow the employees to clock in and clock out in the lunchroom of every childcare centre. That's the only room in any building of the childcare that they've got. So they have one beacon per childcare chucked up in the roof, and that's where they'll clock in and clock out. So they can't do it from the car park, they can't do it from home. They have to physically be in their lunchroom to clock in and clock out. That's where they leave their phones when they start the shift and finish the shift. All right, that's time clocks. Now, if that's all too fancy, again, hide it, and we can go back to what I call it old school, but it's not necessarily old school. Sometimes there is a good reason why you'll just do timesheets, especially if you're coming after old school paper forms. So you might say time clocks we'll do in the future, and we'll worry about that later. So to do a timesheet, it's very simple. You just go add a timesheet, you pick the job that you're doing. So again, if I was to pick, say, R&D, it will go, hang on, Roy, I need you to give me the work order, I'm doing project management, and then I pick my start and finish times of whatever I'm doing my timesheet. So a timesheet is obviously working after the fact, and it's not grabbing GPS location. It's capturing all the other same data because a time clock's just producing a timesheet, okay? So once you've got all the data, obviously if anything differs to your roster, it goes to the manager for approval. So I'm gonna click on 17 to show you what I mean by that, okay? So here's an example. Tanya, on the 19th of July, did a 12-hour day. Now, our business, like most businesses, you know, it's either a 7.6-hour day or an 8-hour day. In our business, it's 8-hour day if you're a full-timer. So it differs, and it's well and truly outside a grace period of half an hour. So you can see here, Tanya has manually modified this timesheet. It tells me straight away she hasn't just used a time clock, she's manually changed something. So if I open up that event button, again, I can see she's clocked in at 6:17 from home, and she's clocked out at 7:37 from the office. Now, again, I can open that up if I really wanted to see the address details and where it's on the map, if I wanted to ping those locations. But it tells me everything I need to know. She had 2 breaks in the day, a normal lunch break, and then from 7:40 to 8:30, okay? So very easy, happy days, approve that. Now, as a manager, I could approve in bulk. I don't have to do approvals daily, but what we generally find is we send, well, by default, we always send a daily digest out to the managers at midnight. So when you wake up in the morning, or if you're still awake, you'll get a notification, and in my case, it would tell me I've got 13 outstanding approvals. So when I wake up in the morning, it would take me straight to my daily digest, and it would tell me how many timesheets I need to approve. I've got some team compliance things I need to approve. I've got some work restrictions that I've breached, and then I need to review. So again, I can open them up, and I can have a look at what those issues or potential alerts are, okay? So all the timesheets and data has been caught now. Leave request works the same way. Is again, you can see here, I'm going to pick on a past leave request that I took last week. When you apply for leave, you pick the leave type, you pick your leave reason, okay? So in my case last week, I picked annual leave, and then I picked the leave reason as recreational. This could be exhausted personal leave, this could be under contractual hours, whatever the business rules are, will be in that drop-down list. But when you apply for leave, what it does, it takes your current balance as of your last pay, then it projects it up to the date that you're requesting. So actually, let me do a new leave request. So let's say I want to take off leave in September. So I'll apply for annual leave. It's recreational, and I want to apply for some leave around my birthday. So you guys will all know my birthday is the 2nd now, so hopefully I get some presents. And I want to take a little bit of a long weekend. So from Thursday the 2nd to Monday the 6th. It automatically knows based on my schedule, there's 3 days or 7.6 hours per day. So it's going to take 22.8 hours off for me. Now, the manager might say to me, Roy, you can take Thursday off, but I need you to work the morning. So I can do a part day only on the Thursday and say, right, okay, that's fine. I'm only requesting from lunchtime onwards, okay? So I can do a part day leave request, no problems. So I'll do that. Nice and easy. All right, and then now it knows there's a part day on the 2nd, and it's only going to take 19.7 hours off me. So now scrolling down, I can attach an attachment. So sometimes where that's very important with personal leave when you're doing sick leave and certificates. Not so much with annual leave, but again, if you really wanted to show off and you're going to Broome or something in the warm part of the world right now, again, you could take a picture of that flight ticket. Any notes? This is one personally as a manager, I ask all my staff to do. So with the people that report into me, I just want to know what's the reason you're taking a particular leave type. So it basically tells me, can I contact you while you're on annual leave or not? So if it's a wedding anniversary or something like that, I'm not going to contact you. But if it's something like, hey, I'm just going to be working, I'm just be at home doing gardening or whatever it is, cool. It still gives me that flexibility to know, can I interrupt should there be something I really need? So that's how I operate. But again, notes could be whatever it needs to be from an employee to their manager. Now you see here, my last pay, I got paid up to the end of the month. So I'm a monthly pay, and my balance at that point in time was 903 hours at the end of the month. I've asked for leave up to the 6th of September, as you remember from here. My end date of that request is the 6th. So it tells me I'll be owed another 14.5 hours at that point by the 6th of September. I have no leave approved before the 2nd of September, and I have no leave approved after the 6th of September. So my true available balance is 918 hours and as of today, factoring in any approved leave before or after. It also shows me that I love Fridays off, okay? So the reason we show the person what their habit looks like is to educate them more around personal leave than any other leave type in this country, okay? So to pause there, personally, to give you a snapshot of some of the data that people are not aware of. The most common day off for personal leave out of our full portfolio of clients is Tuesdays, it's white generation, and it's males. Males account for over 68% of all personal leave in an organization, okay? So when you think, if you're a HR person, even a finance bean counter, it's very important to understand this data because it shifts culture, and you can then look at how you control that 1 to 2% of that labor cost. So here's a snapshot of what a couple of the clients do. We got COVID, obviously, with the vaccinations right now. So clients are saying, if you go get your COVID jab, we'll give you an extra week's worth of leave. Now, clients are obviously different of how many annual leave days they give in addition to this. But again, what they're trying to do is mitigate the risk of so much personal leave, especially if an organization where people don't generally take personal leave, but now the risk and exposure, say in New South Wales, is quite high. They're trying to mitigate their risk by getting people to get the vaccination. So this is how they're using the data, okay? So it is very important. Now, again, you can see with me, if this was personal leave, as a manager, they're going to see that I had 32 Fridays off, so it's not going to look good for me. So it's about HR rather than HR policing it. It's telling the employer, we see what your pattern looks like per leave type. And you press submit, and off that goes to the manager for approval. Now, the only difference the manager will see when a leave application comes to them is a different section down the bottom of the leave request. So we'll introduce on these dates, who else is on annual leave at the same time. Now, this could be partially pending approval, partially approved, rejected, or withdrawn. So you can see here, Jack had a leave application in red. If I click on that, you can see why it was rejected. And again, you can see all these leave applications. You can see Tim's was approved. He had a part-day leave request of 1 hour. Jesus Christ, what's the point of putting that one in? And again, you can see any of that data that you need to. So it's all about data, data, data. Okay, you've seen timesheets, you've seen leave requests. That's all between the employer and manager. Now, as a manager, again, and as the people that are in charge of, let's call it the management team, the C-suite in an organization, it is important to prevent incidents occurring rather than knowing about it after the fact. So here's an example. I'll click on my hours. So we have features available in the product called work restrictions. It's an additional module, but it's all about prevention of fatigue management and managing hours in a day, a week, 28-day period, whatever the time frame needs to be. So you can see here on the 26th of July, I breached that company policy. On the 27th, I breached that company policy again. And on the 28th, I'm under my contractual hours because obviously I haven't finished my day, but I've already done 5 hours for the day so far. So what that tells me is in our business, if I work exactly my contractual hours today, Thursday, and Friday, I'm going to be sitting at 47 hours. So it includes your actuals plus your forecast. So it can tell me, and our alert will kick in at 50 hours in our organization. So as soon as I hit to 50 hours, it will send me an alert to my manager and say, by Friday, Roy's going to breach the company policy. Okay, so it's predicting what's going to happen in the future based on what's already scheduled. So it's a great way with people on visas, people on annualized salaries with the new boots test that we have to do from the 1st of March. So those people on common law contracts under the high income thresholds. Again, it's all the data is immediately available in real time. Now, in my business, and I'm going to jump here to show you what happens. So to protect the directors, no one in our organization is allowed to do more than 12 hours. Now, obviously, I'm not a great example of that, but thankfully, I'm not going to sue myself. So if I come into admin, what happens here is we've got a work restriction policy, one that looks at a daily limit and one looks at a weekly limit, okay? I'll show you the daily limit at the moment. So we said no one should exceed 12 hours. So we alert the employee at 9 hours. We then alert the employee and manager at 10 hours. And then it alerts the employee, line manager, and myself in the organization once someone hits 12 hours. Now, this is real-time notifications, and that's why time clocks is where most people are moving to. So why 9 hours for our organization? And obviously you can change the thresholds to be whatever they need for your business. It's because the first hour from 8 to 9, let's call it, is a reasonable additional overtime. You're not paid for it. You're not going to get any benefit from it. It's just, if you need to do it, you need to do it. But once you get over 9 hours, you need to have that conversation with your manager on why you still need to work, because our time and lieu policy kicks in. Okay, that's why we alert at 9. At 10, we're really saying, come on, you're a general employee, you really shouldn't be doing more than 10 hours. And then also sometimes we have those kind of crisis moments where clients have left things to the last minute. So yes, we will spike with some hours, but again, we got fatigue management issues. So if someone drove in and did a 12-hour day, they'll have to take an Uber home. Again, it's about protecting the employees and also the directors of an organization. Now, with anything in technology, remember technology is an enabler. It's not the ultimate solution here. Remember, the humans are also the weakest link to this process. So when someone has to clock in and clock out, the data is only as good as they clock in and clock out. So what we have here is what we call reminders. If your scheduled time was 8 o'clock and you still haven't clocked on 10 minutes before your scheduled time, it's going to send you a reminder to say, have you forgot to clock on? 5 minutes after you're due to start and you still haven't clocked on, it's going to alert your manager. And then 30 minutes after you're due to finish, 60 and 2 hours after, it has different escalations. So you can build as many workflows as you like in the organization, again, fit for purpose to suit your own culture. If you got wages and you're under modern awards or enterprise agreements, you'll generally see minimum amount of hours per shift. Again, you'll set those thresholds here. So that's how work restrictions works in place with that. All right, that's a little bit of a flavor on that one. Two more things I'm going to show you is in team listing. So obviously I'm a manager. I sit everyone below me in an organization chart. But let's say I wanted to call Tanya. So coming here, you see here, Laura hasn't clocked on. So I go, oh, okay, Laura hasn't clocked on. So I can just tap, let's pretend Tanya is Laura. I'll tap on her name. I've got permission to see her compliance record, her emergency contact info, leave balances, and documents. In my case, I want to call Tanya. So I can just tap on her name, hit call, and away I go, okay? Very simple, all from the phone. I can access her personal details, again, assuming I've got permission for it. We use things like Google Maps, Apple Maps, so address details are perfectly formatted, mobile numbers are perfectly formatted regardless of where you are in the world. It will, based on the region of that device, will automatically format it. For those in the construction space, obviously we know compliance is a massive thing in your organization and industry. So things like in my business, a huge part of my business as well. You know, we've got to have tax licenses, everyone's got to have police checks, certain roles have to have driver's license, passports, certain qualifications to do their roles. So again, it's a big part of our business, even though we're white collar. So let's say you pulled me up and said, Roy, I need to see your police clearance. You can see my last police clearance was done on the 9th of March and it expires in our business every year. So every year HR has to go renew our police clearance. It says no disclosable court outcomes. That's good because that will look awkward in this demo if I did. But again, I can download that certification, see my ticket. I could SMS that, email it, whatever I needed to do, all from my phone, should I need to send that off, okay? So again, if you've got permission, it's very quick to access that data. What else? Employment contracts, those kind of things can all be in here. Excuse me, so you can easily access all those kind of data from the phone or the web. All right, the last thing I'm going to show you on the mobile, I won't spend too much time on the rest of this stuff, is announcements. So again, keeping back to the theme of compliance, how do you get your policies, procedures, or announcements out to your employees across the country or even the globe, depending where you are using Definitiv? So let me show you. These are our company policies, and this is how we communicate to our staff. And I'm going to show you how one works in real time. All right. So what will happen if you've got the permission, you'll have the access to do it, and you have to do it from the web. Okay. So you'll come in here. You'll go, let's say you unfortunately in New South Wales and there's a COVID update, they've just extended you guys for 4 weeks lockdown. Okay, that's what they'll see on the push notification and email subject line. Okay, whatever you want them to see. When do you want to send it out? Well, I want to send it out now because I'm doing a live demo. And I've got a beautiful company policy about mental awareness, right? Let's pretend it's that. So let me pick on that document, whatever that is. Now, I can also say once they've read this policy, I want to file it in under the folder called Policies, Other. So it automatically files that in on their master record. So for audit purposes, you can easily see and attain that document that they viewed and signed. So in my case, I'm going to write a little quick story. Please read and sign. Good luck and see you in 4 weeks. All right, you can change font sizes, colors, all that stuff to make it look pretty. Not going to do that. Standard announcement is purely an FYI. Guys, we're going to the pub this Friday. First round of drinks is on me. Okay, purely an FYI, people can dismiss it. Requires acknowledgement, you physically need to sign that you read the policy. And requires acknowledgement and response. I've got some questions for you. Do you like Claddy? I really hope there's many people in New South Wales here. Yes, no, okay. Now, you can have as many questions as you like, as many options as you like to each question, okay? So you can go to town on that one. Now, do I want to send it to all employees? No, because it's my live company. I only want to send it to people with the role Chief Executive. So if there's 5 people with this role, all 5 people will be notified of this new COVID lockdown, and they'll be asked this question, do you like Claddy? So when you structure Definitiv, the dimensions, or we call it dimensions, the roles, department, location, projects is quite important, and obviously you can do it right down to an individual. Now, if this was a policy like bully, harassment, drinking, drugs, alcohol, all those kind of policies, you generally set it to ongoing. And what that means is anyone gets promoted into the role of Chief Executive, it will check, have you read this policy? No, you haven't, and I'll send it to you. Okay, so that's what ongoing means. Once off would be an announcement like this because it's only valid for this point in time. All right, flick back to my phone. In real time, I get this notification sent to my phone. Now what it does is, because I said it requires acknowledgement, it won't let you move forward to access any of your data. You can't clock in, you can't clock out, you can't do a timesheet, you can't do anything until you read this policy now. This is whether it's through the mobile or through the web, we've locked you out, okay? So if there's 5 attachments, it's gonna make you download all 5 attachments. Once you've read this policy and you've gone through it and you're going, yeah, all good, it then knows that it's been read, it goes to acknowledge. You press acknowledge, it will ask you whatever questions and responses per question. Yeah, she's all right. And we'll sign. And then what it'll do, it will take that question with your response and your signature, append it to a new page on that document, and then file it in on your master record. And now it'll let you into Definitiv to do whatever task you were set to do, okay? It's a great way to control compliance and governance in an organization. You can do it at a job level, you can do it at a project level, role, department, etc. Okay? All right, that's enough of the mobile. This is the beauty of the web, okay? Why is this not working? Autofill that. No? Why is that not working? There we go. Okay, if you've got 2-factor, turn it on, it'll use 2-factor. For the IT people, if there's any IT people, you can have things like single sign-on. So I'll just show you a hybrid of single sign-on. So this client, they have employees that don't have a work email address. Let's call it casuals. If you have a work email address, it would automatically redirect you to their ADFS server. You can also be extremely locked down. I'll use another mining company. You see, it knows Definitiv is not even allowed to access their portal, okay? So again, IT can go to town. It's all built into our product with single sign-on, single sign-out, and then it's how you configure it to your organization. So it's all standard for the IT people there. All right. Why is Definitiv so unique in the organization? It's not just pretty UI, it actually has good features under the covers, okay? So in a construction industry, we all know you hire and terminate employees based on project work if you're that type of industry, okay? So it's one record for the lifetime of this employee. So you hire, terminate, hire. Definitiv is a date-driven system. So point in time, it knows exactly what the system look like for an individual, pay, job level, etc. So for example, for the payroll people in the room, if Hugh Jackman was to get a pay increase or decrease, and it was effective from the 1st of August, I will come in here, I would cease this on the 31st of July, and I'll commence new on the 1st of August. Now, if I already Then from the 1st of August, it will automatically pay that new salary at that date onwards. It will prorata the payment. If it's halfway through a fortnight, whatever it does, it will prorata it. If I did it the opposite way and I said, oops, Hugh Jackman was meant to go to $10 million from the 1st of July. July's already been run. I would just simply cease the old, commence the new, and the system will recalculate itself, okay? It will do everything from the wages to super, the payroll tax, the leave provision. You just get the data right and the system will recalculate itself. For those who's used an SAP and Oracle, same concept. It's all about commence and cease dates, okay? Super funds. If someone said, hey, I want to do a salary sacrifice for only 3 months, I don't have to hold on to that piece of paper. I can just say cease it on this date and it will automatically stop that deduction on that date or payment, okay? So everything in the system is date driven. You saw that employees can have multiple roles. If I ever want to see history, or if I'm building resumes for tenders and stuff for in clients, especially in your industries, in the construction space. Again, you've got the full history and full data of everything in here. Now, again, for the IT people in the room, every single thing you see today has an API behind it. Whether it's through the web or the mobile, there's an API. So you can pull data, plug it to BI tools, send it to ERPs. Thrive's done a bit of work with their different MyOb Advance and Sage products. And again, we don't have to be the king for everything. You can feed data, you can pull data, etc. Obviously, we need to fulfill the outcome. Plant and equipment, I haven't touched on it, but plant and equipment is another module. Again, should it be, it's a completely optional module, of course, but it is all about grabbing assets or plant and equipment, right? Now, it's not just a register of holding what people have been assigned. It can be for white collar industries, absolutely. But for the kind of construction, mining, oil and gas, and my government clients especially, they book time to assets. So it could be an excavator. So they'll physically say, right, I'm on this job, I'm using an excavator and I've done 2 hours on it. And then it will take that data and send it to the ERP, and it could be charging out an invoice. It could be purely recording that data from hours, so it can drive scheduling, depreciation, and maintenance. There's so much you can do, but again, it's all one user experience from the employee. They can do a timesheet about themselves of what time they're booking to a job, and then they can also do a timesheet of what plant they're booking to a job. So you can have the best of both worlds all through the one product. And this also works all through our time clocks as well. So you don't have to have different things. The people on what we call swings, I could be on 2 weeks on, 1 week off. Again, you set their schedule and it just keeps repeating that cycle until you tell it to stop, okay? So all that data is available in here. You can have also custom fields, construction, long service leave, numbers, all that kind of stuff. It could be checkboxes, multi-selects, all sorts of things. Anything you add as custom fields will automatically add it to our reporting engine. Now, before I jump to reporting, I'll quickly show you a snippet of rostering. Obviously, I can spend a lot of time in the workforce management section, but rosters are all stock standard with the product. Again, should you need it, it's there, okay? You don't have to use rosters. If you're an all auto pay kind of business, there's no point using rostering. But where rostering becomes very powerful, it brings some of our modules in place, okay? So if I show you the legend quickly, green means they've accepted shift, yellow means that it's in draft or pending, orange means there's issues or warnings with the shift, rejected, etc. Okay, so there's a few colors of the rainbows. But what's great about it is I can click on those 2 shifts. It tells me there's some issues, and the issues on these 2 shifts is I'm trying to give this employee, what am I trying to give her actually? 2 hours, so a 2-hour shift, and the system's automatically told me there's not enough hours you're giving it. So I might actually have to pay her for 3 hours because the award tells me I have to pay it. So the message comes up straight away. You're not giving Brooke enough hours. But then I can also, because I've got the permission, to see why. What cost is this shift going to incur? So it takes this shift and says, you see here, it's 3 hours I'm going to pay you. There'll be annual leave, personal, RDOs, long service leave, super, and payroll tax. Definitiv will literally take that shift, stick it through the award engine, stick it through the payroll, and spit all the line items back out. So when you see the cost of $556, you know exactly that is the real cost to deliver that shift if they work from 8 to 7 p.m. Okay. Now, again, you can see here, this one's kicking the Saturday penalties, double time, etc., etc. Okay. So you'll always see, and there's issues on this one, you're trying to give them too many hours. Okay. So again, all those kind of things are in place. Now, rostering, you know, you can do bulk changes, all sorts of things, add in 3 shifts here, 8 to 5, yep, apply that to all 3 shifts that I just selected. So think of it like Excel, but in obviously a UI. This is why super users will use the web, because there's more real estate. You don't want to be doing this on a phone. You want to view your roster on a phone, but you don't want to be trying to build a roster on a phone. All right, so that's a quick little snippet of workforce management rostering. So much we can do in here, but I won't bore you. You know, there's issues on this roster, there's warnings, there's total cost, etc. But anyway, that's a snippet, just so you know, rostering is part of the product. Onboarding is a quick snippet of it. You can issue out an employment contract. They'll do their tax declaration, they'll do their super, they'll do their banking, they'll get their fair work statements. You do that completely electronic. Again, optional module. Should you want to use that if you don't have anything, perfect. It means no paperwork. It's all automated in our product. And you saw compliance, you saw that before. You know, what's my potential breaches as of today? You know, all these people are expired. These ones are expiring soon. So if I'm HR, I might say, right, why is this one expiring soon? So their driver's license is about to expire soon, okay? So this particular employee, Mia, her role as a nurse must have these licenses. To work on birth one, she must have a police check, okay? So again, you can see that different jobs might have different compliance requirements. Now, a job for you guys might be simply, have they done the site induction, okay? So compliance is very generic as a name, but again, it all links to rostering, it all links into the HR and work health and safety place. All right, heading into reporting. You'll love reporting, I hope you do. So being a date-driven system, point in time, as I alluded to, we'll know. So I ran it as of today, that's the default. Here's, think of Excel, very similar concept, right? Auto filters, I only want to see females, I only want to see males, okay? So you can just use your auto filters. What is my headcount as of today? I've got 66 females, 34 males, okay? Very simple to get those quick numbers and stats. If I don't want to see mobile numbers on this report, I just simply drag the column out of the report, okay? If I accidentally took the wrong column out, I can put it back in, all right? Once you've built the report, you can also save it. So you can call it end of month report for the board, okay? So again, you can save what we call the variant, and it remembers all your filters, all the columns you left on, and next time you just pick that action, and then it automatically changes that view for you. Of course, you could dump it to Excel, and any custom fields I alluded to before that you added in our system will automatically add it to our reports and also automatically link it to our APIs as well. You can also look, you can do a search. So if I was looking for the word, what word am I looking for? NDIS, okay? I can just type it in rather than trying to find where NDIS is in one of these columns. It will automatically find that word in any one of these columns for me, okay? Now, if you're not good with Excel, we cover you as well, okay? You can hit dynamic mode, and this is like pivot tables, but simplified for the everyday user. So I saved one here before called genders report by state and by employment status. So I've got 100 people employed as of today across these states and territories, but I want to know, or the board wants to know, what was it like 30th of June in 2019? All I do is pick the date that they've requested, hit refresh, and it goes from 100, and I had 115. So we've gone down 15 headcounts, okay? So if I go, oh, I don't care about state, I just want to know by employment status, just like any pivot table, take it off the grid, refresh it, boom, there's your data, okay? Now, again, everyone in management knows they love a good chart. We don't rest there. You can flick it to a chart and away you go, okay? So very, very easy to get data out of the system and report to the management team, boards, or strategies. For the bean counters, okay, this is your best friend in this area. It's all about cost. Now, being date-driven, regardless of your pay period straddles a month or falls short of a month, you pick the date range you want to see the actual cost, assuming it's already being run. So in my case, my last pay was the 28th of June, so it defaults to your last pay to make it faster. I hit run. This was all the costs and liabilities the business has incurred since the 28th of June. Now, if I grab pay item, I'll just show you the grouping. These are all the costs and liabilities the business incurred. So as a CFO, I could come in here and go, oh, who's getting paid Sunday penalty? I can come in here, I can see who the employee was, the employment status, the pay cycle that they were on, the physical date that they worked, the day of the week, the units, the rate, the GL code, the role they're doing, the job they booked to, the location, the department, and even what work order. And for the payroll people, even what pay period it was paid in. Because a change could have happened retrospectively, but it was only paid now. Again, accountants can use cost to date, which they generally would. Payroll people will use period end date. So again, you've got both flavors there. And like anything, very similar to Excel. You can highlight that on screen. You can see that value of highlighting is $8,361. The max, the mins, the counts, the average. So you don't even have to dump it to Excel to do quick analytics. And again, one of the things that I know operations managers and project managers love is now they can start seeing their real cost per a day. So here's my jobs by cost, by day of the week. So if I'm sitting there and I'm the project manager, I'm saying, bloody hell, berth 1 is costing us a fortune on Saturdays and Sundays, okay? We've really got to do the work during the week. I rather pay the time and a half, double time during the week than pay these Saturday and Sunday loadings. Again, it's about understanding the data. Now, payroll cost is all about actual cost. Time and attendance data is all about the real hours people work. So I'll use myself. I could go do a 70-hour week, good on me. That's the real hours to deliver business outcome. My cost from a payroll point for that week is only 38 hours, okay? So payroll data is physical cost out the door. Time and attendance data is real FTE to deliver business outcome, okay? So again, we've got it all in the one thing, and you can see and do the comparisons, the details. So again, if you've got wage employees, you want to look at, okay, we might need to put some people on salaries to try to get that reasonable addition overtime and not pay for that privilege of every hour worked. Or, hang on, people on the salaries are taking a piss, I'm going to put them on wages. Again, you can find the balance there. And we don't miss anything. You've got PDF reports, of course. Compare last pay to this pay. I'll just show you a quick one. 28th of June, only show me the variances. And again, if you've got 300 people, 1,000 people on here, you only see what's changed from last pay to this pay. And again, you can see that there. So you've got that there, $8,000. And then you've also got the custom reports. Oops, just show you there. Download that. The custom reports here, you'll have whatever your ERP is, that will be the journal that will be put there for you. So we'll match whether it's Sage, whether it's MyEvents, whatever the ERP is, that will be exactly the format you require. So then all payroll has to do, or the finance team, is hit run, export it out, jump into that ERP. So this example was IFS, jump into IFS, browse, import. Job done, fully job costed your P&L and balance sheet. All right, now how we make the brains of the operation work, okay? We have what we call an award engine that comes with the system. It is the heart of the system that obviously does all the payroll output, but all the rostering projections as well. Whatever modern awards, collective agreements, whatever you've got in the organization, common law contracts, you'll see them all here, okay? So again, the consultants at Thrive and Definitiv will set this up specifically for your needs and requirements. No one client is the same, okay? Everyone has a different interpretation of how they look at a modern award. No one would look at it the same. I can trust me on that. Out of 350 clients, we don't have one that would be the same, identical. Similar, but not identical. So I'm going to pick on enterprise agreements. So let's say an enterprise agreement expired. The Fair Work, the unions finally agreed it, Fair Work's finally agreed it, and then they said backdate it again to the 1st of May. All the payroll person or whoever the administrator is will cease the old on the 30th of April, commence the first on 1st of May, make the changes in the engine, and the system will recalculate itself. So you see the theme of date-driven products, okay? So it's all about get the data right with the right effective dates, and everything else will automate. Now, how the engine works. We will obviously set this up for you with Thrive, and then we hand the keys over, obviously give you the training, and then you maintain it, or you can use consulting services if you don't feel comfortable to maintain it. Now, I'm going to pick on one rule called public holiday, because everyone on the call should understand a public holiday. Okay, so when we take on a client, we've got to ask you or read out of your modern award, enterprise agreement, etc., what are the rules around a public holiday? So we first ask, is it a public holiday or not? So pretty simple there. Then we ask, is it work or not work, not work, scheduled work or not scheduled work? So each one of those options could have a different outcome potentially, okay? Again, your rules would dictate the behavior. We then say, is it part of the holiday, start or ending, starting or majority of the holiday? Now, what that means is, if I've got night shift and I start on a Friday but finish on a Saturday, the system needs to know what is it, a Friday shift, Saturday shift, split it to different shifts, part of the shift or majority of the time on the shift. Okay, Definitiv is always right or it's always wrong. It's unemotional. So if I said, Roy, this is only for New South Wales, I simply add in a new rule, lift it up where I need it to be, and then I pick, what am I trying to do? Okay, it's New South Wales, it has to do with the location. The location is one of New South Wales, okay? And then now it will go, okay, you've also got to be full-time, part-time, paid double time, or time and a half, sorry. to the pay article, public holiday work. We can do it per an hour, by pro rata. You can do it at your normal pay rate, your day rate, your all-purpose rate, specified rate, a total package, or an accrued rate. So we cover all the combinations of how someone can be paid. We can cap you at your scheduled hours at a specific limit per day, per 28-day period, per roster cycle, whatever the rules are. Generally speaking, we have great success at achieving over about 94% automating your payroll, okay? So get the rules right, and we've got all the rules in the library, generally speaking, of how we can automate your payroll. We can even look at things like custom fields. So we can say, okay, if we've got a custom field called on the timesheet called called in, and it's being ticked as true, so you saw when I did it with Dell, I'm then going to pay you a stand down of $43 per day. Okay, so once that's ticked on your timesheet, I'll pay you $43 per day. Okay, so again, we can call in custom fields on timesheets, on master records, whatever we need to do. So I can say, if you're an Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander, I'm going to pay you an extra $43 a day. Cool, done. So there's so many ways to slice the cat, and that's where our consulting, and when we take on a client, will help you work out how to structure and automate all that. Provision policies, these are all things to do with payroll tax, work cover, could be construction long service leaves, another good one that we chuck in there. Again, all that. Now, running out of time, the last bit, how we run a pay. This is the really easy bit, hence why I leave it to the last. So you start a pay run as a payroll officer, you pick your payment date, your period start date, and it will automatically work out the period end date. Okay, when am I paying this? 25th, I'll pay it on the 26th, and I'm going to pay the super at the end of August, okay? Start a pay run. If you've got 100 people, 1,000 people, 3,000 people, the payroll person just hits select all and hits calculate. This roughly takes about 1.5 minutes to calculate 1,000 employees, okay? So make a quick cup of coffee. This will go work out any payments due for these employees between the 12th of July and the 25th of July. It will then work out any back pays prior to the 12th of July that might be owed to them, okay? So this is how it automates payroll. That's why the award engine has to be right. Then once this is calculated, what the payroll person has to do now, besides checking, they've always got to do the checking, is do the non-time and attendance entries. So these are things like commissions, bonuses, expense claims, terminations, okay? Now, if the things in bulk, like, hey, I've got 100 people that's all getting a reimbursement because it was a Christmas party, Uber fees, you do that in Excel and you can import that in from Excel, okay? So you can easily import in from Excel. We'll give you the template and away you go. So that's how we do it. Now you see here, there's 2 issues. So I can't close off the pay and I've got 8 warnings. Now the 2 actual issues is something to do with his employment type on the 1st of July, hasn't been specified for the role. So I have to actually go fix that in his master record before it'll allow me to pay Hugh Jackman. It's also told me Hugh's a bit of a naughty employee. He's been using the excavator and he's not actually assigned to it. He's been using the bloody forklift. He's not even compliant to use it. So again, it's telling me all these warnings and errors in there. Now, because I don't like Hugh, for this purpose of the demo, let's just remove him from the pay run so I can get rid of that error. Now, I also want to, let's say an employee's come to me, Sarah, and she wants to cash in some annual leave, okay? So again, this is how a payroll person would do a manual change. I'll go add a line item. They want to do some annual leave, cash out, okay? We know cash out, if you're a payroll person, you'll know that has to be taxed annually. So you select annually and it will automatically spread the tax proportionately as requested in your email on the 26th of July. Okay, that message will go on to the person's timesheet. You can override where it costs. Again, if you don't like that, if you don't want to charge it to Sunny Hill as the COO, again, you can override that costing should you want. Now, when I publish or add that line item in, it will recalculate itself automatically because it now knows, hey, there's super that needs to be paid on this, there's payroll tax, there's work cover, all sorts of things that will be underpinned because of that new change. So it recalculates itself and away it goes and works all those components out for me. It also tells you that anything that payroll person touches in the pay run, it knows what it is. Excuse me. So why that's important is auditors love that. So they can come in here, or whoever's signing off in the payroll, say, okay, well, I'm signing off the 12th of July to 25th. What did the payroll person touch in this pay run that wasn't automated? So I said amended only, and here you go. It's only Sarah. And again, they can see as requested, okay? That's why putting notes is important, not only from a payslip point of view, but it also makes it very clean for auditors' point of view. Now, assume I've done it, all my checking, like a normal payroll person. I'm happy to go, pay it to the door, hit verify. Okay, this does a quick debit and credit balance. Load my bank file into whatever the bank is, CommBank, Westpac, whatever it is. And then I simply hit publish and lodge. This is my declaration to the ATO. This includes STP, and it also includes any tax declarations, so new starters or any tax declarations that change. And that's your STP obligations done, start to finish. The ATO will notify us with Definitiv if there's any acceptance, rejections, or comments on your data, and we will notify you electronically through emails if you need to look at that message, okay? So you don't have to wait for the ATO to process it. We will tell you once that data's been received, we'll send it back. It's usually about 15 minutes the ATO takes to send you that data back. That's how easy it is to do a pay run, okay? Now, coming into super, if you've got big payroll teams, and hopefully they're not taking this the wrong way, a payroll officer should be able to run 2,500 pay slips as a full-time equivalent, minimum. Our staff here in outsourcing, we push them for 3,500 pay slips. Probably a bit too lean, but let's call it 3,000 pay slips. They should be able to achieve without fail if you set your business up and get your culture correctly. Now, super. If you only pay quarterly or monthly and you've got 5 pays in here, it will show you all 5 pays that you need to still pay. Generally speaking, you only see those 3 boxes. I've just got all the government different things set up here. So you pick what you want to pay out through the clearinghouse. It's all built into product. Once again, this tells me it's $16,326.34. I've checked the general ledger. I've checked my reports. CFO is happy. Happy days. Hit submit. And this does a pre-validation to the gateway, okay? If there's errors, this will say resubmit. If there's no errors, it's just telling you warnings. They're all fake tax on numbers. That's fine. And then once I'm happy, I hit approve. $16,326.34 will be direct debited from my bank account automatically now, okay? That will happen just like any bank in the morning and in the afternoon. And again, we'll notify you once that direct debit has occurred. We'll notify you once the direct debit has been cleared. So you've got the 3-day clearance as every direct debit has. And then once it's been sent to the gateway. So every single stage of how this money moves, we will notify you back through Definitiv automatically. Now, even if someone closes a super fund, so let's say Judd closes his Sun Super account, Sun Super rejects that funds, they have to give the right message. So it's all automated with SuperStream. It comes back into Definitiv and says, Judd, close super fund, rejection of funds. And then that money will be deposited back to the account that it direct debited it from, okay? So it gives you everything in a snapshot. The new changes with STP2 will also allow us to do rebanking. So you can go, okay, Judd, what is the new details? Oh, sorry, mate, it's Hester. You quickly change it all on screen and it will rebank it automatically. So the money's not just constantly coming back to the bank account, okay? So that's the new feature that will be coming. I think that has to be live by January from memory. So it'll probably be about December, that feature will come in. All right, I've said a million things. I hope we've enjoyed it today. I'm going to hand it back to the Thrive team if there's any questions.
Thanks, Roy. Mind-blowing demo and mind-blowing software. You know, a lot of people on this call are familiar with Sage CRE Payroll, and you've just talked for an hour of almost exclusively things that Sage CRE Payroll can't do. Obviously, the end result's the same with the dollars in the bank, but so many things that are just brilliant about your software. So I don't think we have much time left for questions. I'm happy to hang around. I'm not sure if you can, Roy, if anybody would like to hang around for questions.
I can definitely hang around.
Oh, yep. Thanks, Roy. So shall we open the floor to questions if anybody has any? And as Roy said earlier, very happy for to run separate demos for you if you want to ask questions. You know, spend another hour going through it a bit slower than Roy was talking then. Sorry, I'm going to unmute everybody. I don't think they can talk at the moment. I have clicked the button to unmute all and it doesn't seem to be working. Oh, there we go. I think everybody's unmuted if they'd like to talk. No questions? Well, happy to field those separately.
Sorry, I've just got the one question. Santina here. Just with regard to setting up something like this, what sort of a time frame are you looking at, I suppose, with an organisation, say, with a couple of different award structures and, say, 50 employees? There'd be some setup required. What time frames would you be looking at?
Yeah, so if you're not rushing, well, look, our standard time frame, because our average size clients, roughly around 400 employees to about 1,000, is roughly, we call it 3 months or 12 weeks, okay? Now, that definitely can be shortened, but generally speaking, even a 50-man payroll, 100-man payroll, it's kind of a right size, because you've got your day-to-day job, and then you've also got to obviously do a migration project. So if you're not rushing, take the proper 12 weeks, and then it's nice and calm, and that's what we call turnkey. So from old system to new system, parallel runs, training, ward setup, everything's done turnkey to go live.
I'd agree with that,
Excellent.
Santina. You know, I would say a minimum of 2 months, just because, you know, it's payroll. You can't get anything wrong at all. You've got to spend at least a month or two making sure everything's perfect.
No, that's great. Usually that's where all the time is taken, is to get the setup correct.
Exactly.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So feel free to reach out to any of us. Most of you know Greg and Chris and myself. Most of us on the call, Janelle, Pam. You know, feel free to reach out to any of us if you've got detailed questions or not, and we're happy to spend whatever time with you showing you some of this stuff in detail. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a great day, guys.
You too. Bye.
You too. Thanks. Bye now.
Bye.